Hi folks, I'm here today to talk about the new OJS Dataverse plugin. This is the result of a collaboration between the Public Knowledge Project, developers of Open Journal Systems, and Harvard's Institute for Quantitative Social Science, developers of the Dataverse network platform. Now, what this does is enable authors submitting their articles to OJS to simultaneously deposit the underlying research data in a linked Dataverse network. This lets journals manage the submission, review, and publication of data associated with articles. It streamlines the author's article and data deposit processes, and after publication, it provides a permanent bidirectional link from the article to the data and vice versa. This right here is just a little snapshot of a talk we gave on this plugin at this year's International Digital Curation Conference. It's built on the SWORD v2 protocol, and like I said, it takes the form of an OJS plugin. The plugin's available for versions of OJS going down to 2.3.x, and it ships by default in OJS 2.4.4, which is going to be released pretty soon. So without further ado, I'm going to show off the plugin in action over here. You can see I've got an OJS journal set up for myself here called the Super Plugin Testing Happy Hour, and I've given myself journal manager, editor, and author rights. We'll start out in the journal manager role, which involves actually setting up the plugin. So I'll go on here into System Plugins. It's under Generic Plugins. I've already pre-installed it. It doesn't currently come pre-installed with OJS, but it should in a later release, and you can always download it from the link in the video description. So first of all, we'll go to Connect to specify the Dataverse instance we want to connect to. Right now I'm just using the Harvard demo instance you can see, and supplying admin credentials. So go on to select Dataverse. Like OJS, the Dataverse network enables you to run multiple Dataverses out of one software instance. The instance we connected to only has the one. It's the Journal of Plugin Testing, so we're going to go right over to that one. And now we can open up the settings menu where we're able to set policies around data deposit. So, for example, we have just this boilerplate text for the data availability policy, which recommends the Harvard Dataverse. Any other journal wanting to change this text to reflect their own Dataverse instance could do so right here. And we also have some sample boilerplate guidelines for authors, for reviewers, and while these don't directly change the guidelines that are already present within your version of OJS, they do provide this boilerplate text, which you can then go and hook into your submission checklist and so forth as desired. If we scroll down further, got a couple of options here. One permits you to either mirror the terms of use from the linked Dataverse instance and just replicate them in OJS so that you're using the exact same terms of use for depositing files, presenting to authors. You can also just enter your own terms of use. And so this pulled in the number 1, which was all we put in the linked instance for testing, but right here you can just say, you are depositing data. We hope you like it, right? Something like that. Here you can change the citation format when it's displaying the citation for the OJS article on the Dataverse side. We've got just APA baked in right there. We'll be expanding that later on. As well as changing the identifier used to link to the article on the Dataverse side. If you had DOIs supported for your journal, you could choose DOI from this drop-down list right here. This journal does not, which means it'll just be using regular URLs by default. And finally here, you can change the workflow settings, whether or not you require OJS article submissions to include data files for Dataverse. You can uncheck this box if all articles don't need to have accompanying data. And this is a cool one right here, whether or not you release the accompanying data in Dataverse upon acceptance of an article in OJS. This helps you kind of get the data out there ahead of the article publication possibly and provide a faster moving workflow, or wait until the article is published in OJS to release the data. So do all that, hit save, and now we're going to go back to the user home and go into the author side. I'll just start a brand new submission and click through submission checklist. Read this a number of times. Right, and we'll just upload any old submission file here. Here's a doc file from my desktop. And go on. The entering the metadata for the submission is unchanged from OJS as it is normally. And click through, filling in required fields. Now here we get to the upload supplementary files prompt. This is the same as it ever was, and I'm just going to upload a little picture of some headphones here that I happen to have in my desktop. And here you'll see the supplementary file metadata form is changed a bit from the OJS default. So you're allowed to fill in all this metadata here, title, creator, keywords, and so forth, which will then be duplicated in the Dataverse side for the file itself. After filling that in, you scroll down and you can choose right here whether or not the file is just going to count as a regular old sub file. Say, for example, it's just author's notes or something else you wanted to send along with your document. It's not data per se. You would keep this first tick box and not deposit in Dataverse. Otherwise, you click through here, and in doing so, the file is deposited and the author accepts the Dataverse terms of use. This box right here, the external data citation, is intended for authors who have already deposited their data elsewhere from the Dataverse network and want to provide a citation to that data. So the plugin also facilitates an expanded data workflow just in case you're not providing your data for the very first time along with the submission. And finally, you are able to present this file to reviewers with or without metadata. So go ahead and click onward, making sure we're depositing that file. Yep. And we can upload more subfiles here if we want to, but we don't. And finish submission. Alright, so the submission is now done. Okay, now if we tab over to the Dataverse side, we'll see that this new submission, Alex uploads a file, is here under the list of uploaded studies. So here we go. Alex uploads a file with a link back to the original Dataverse. It's currently listed as being in press because I haven't finished the submission yet, or rather finished editing it. And if we go to data and analysis, you'll see the little headphone thumbnail that I uploaded. So that's functionally what it looks like when we have a new draft deposit. If you want to look and see what it's like when an article has already been published with accompanying data in Dataverse, then we'll want to go here to the current issue of the Super Plugin Testing Happy Hour and go to this one article I have published. And right here on the same page where you can view the article abstract and download the PDF full text, there is a link to the same record within the Dataverse network. And this allows authors to access articles accompanying research data from this same landing page as you would get their full text. And vice versa, once the article is released in Dataverse, it then links back to OJS as the original source. So there you have it. If you have any questions at all, you can find the email address to contact. That's me, Alex Garnett, in the description of this video, where you can also find the Dataverse plugin download link. We really hope you like it. If you intend to use it in production at this point, we'd love to hear from you, just so we can kind of keep track of all of our testers and ensure that your experience goes well. Otherwise, thanks for your time, and have a good day, and have a good plugin.